I kind of enjoyed the breakout groups or whatever
Yes.
that we had.
I got excellent feedback all around. People loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Paula and I ended up talking probably for an hour after it was over. It was
Uh-huh.
lovely. Yeah. Sweet.
Wendy, I looked. We were on for about 3 hours.
Oh,
Oh, that's what you call an hour these days?
Yeah.
We
You
were
got
on for a
time
long time.
inflation there.
It was
know-
really nice.
it was lovely. Thank you. Well,
Oh, Jeff, you like my new name for it? Refectory Conversations.
Uh-huh.
That's what I put on the
Yeah,
calendar.
we had a lot of great conversations over the years in the refectory. Yeah.
So that's what I named it.
Yeah.
And in the description, I explain what a refectory is because not everybody knows it.
Did Wendy, does Wendy and Paula know each other from before that?
no,
No.
no, not at all. We just kind of,
Beautiful.
we
This is
just
the dating
linked.
service.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's lovely.
It's the ultimate dating service. It's
Yeah.
Baba lover family getting together.
Just
Yeah.
just as the wine is aged, you know.
Just at the right time.
Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's nice.
You know, when I left that session yesterday, I looked at the clock. I thought, wow, that hour and 20 minutes went really fast. You know, but I hadn't, the clock hadn't changed. It was actually 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. It went by like that.
Yeah.
Gotta love it. Gotta
Yeah.
love it.
We were sorry we had to hang up to get dinner ready, but it was
Yeah.
really valuable.
Yeah.
We loved it.
Hmm.
And I like coming back to the main room
Yeah,
too.
that was nice.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Because to talk about what the main themes were and then to start talking about that.
Yeah. That was.
And what's nice is that the way that we set up breakout rooms, you can come back and forth, whatever you like. If you want to then go back to your breakout room, it'll still be open. So
Brilliant. I like it.
Anything come up with anybody?
Well, we were talking a lot about grief in our
Grief.
group.
Yeah.
We had 2 people from Colorado, and one from Boulder.
Yeah.
So we talked about that. And
Mm.
I told you that your wonderful quote about grief is what happens when love has no place to go.
Oh,
Yeah. We got that from Wendy,
yeah.
who's right above you there.
Oh, Wendy, thank you.
Thank you.
Where's that from?
You know what? I'm not sure. I learned it in hospice. So I just don't remember the author of it or
Doesn't
the
matter. That's
But
great.
it's just that's what happens. The object of your love passes on, and then it's halted. That the flow is halted unless you can push past that.
Yeah, and love others.
Yeah.
Or
And-
Baba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're helped greatly because we can
Yeah.
Yes.
turn much of that to Baba.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know what made me think of? I think about how many widows or widowers kind of get married within the first year and all the judgment that is to be, to put on these people. But that quote actually
Yeah.
really proved valuable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not that
Someone once said to me
No, we
that
talked
people
about
that marry quickly, or not quickly, but within the year, it was a compliment to their partner that they, loved from such a deep place and they wanted to be able to
Release.
love again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I
or
thought,
not stop loving.
yeah.
You know, I might be crazy. It's possible. It's a real possibility. But okay, so my husband and my son are both with Baba, but my love for them doesn't stop flowing. It doesn't stop.
Yeah.
Well, that's my opinion anyway, and
Yeah.
that's what I feel, because I'm also a Cancer and I don't let go easily.
Yeah. Love never ends.
Yeah, our
It
daughters,
just doesn't.
so we know about holding on.
Yeah.
And what I share with my friend who's not a Bubba lover, but lost her husband like 2 years ago and is having a really, really hard time. And this was before I knew Bubba too. When my sister passed, I remember I would write to her and she would answer me. And so she might as well have been with me. You know, it's like, I wish you were here to tell me this. And I just got told that, didn't I? So it was a really interesting experience. And when our daughter's computer got broken, she lost everything. And I said to Diane, the only thing I would hate to lose are those writings to my dead sister. And so Diane made me this beautiful book with photographs and everything for the next birthday and all the writings. This is Diane, by the way. And what's happened now since Bubba is that they're just with me. I mean, I was cooking Passover yesterday in the kitchen with Diane physically, but with my mother and my sister, they were all there with me. You know, it was so amazing. So I don't know, like, I agree with you, Paula. I don't let them really go. I just don't have their bodies with me anymore.
I know, that's what Baba says. You know, it's like, I'm not my physical body. I'm really aware of that. You know, most of the time, Zoom has been very strange seeing my own face because I don't operate that way.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You don't need a body to be on Zoom.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least that.
Some of them are disembodied, actually. No. But yeah, Baba said, I think it was, I can't remember whether it was Delia's sister. Anyway, I remember there was Baba sent a cable when maybe Delia's sister passed on, or Mabel, I think Mabel's the one who died. Why do you miss her? She's closer to you than she was before when she was physically there. All she's done is taken off her coat and hat. That's the figure Baba gave. All she's done is taken off her coat and hat.
The other thing you said recently too, Jeff, is they're just in another room.
Mhm.
And that's really nice. It's like, yeah, they're
Yeah.
just in another room.
Yeah,
And
beautiful.
the heart meditations that Stuart does, I've done a couple of them only, but that kind of thing is really nice too, because it's like that river of love that, you know, it's that circle doesn't get broken.
Yeah. Yeah, for a lot of people, out of sight, out of mind, you know. Well, we are, with Baba, it's the first person that I was really close to, who died, was Fred Winterfeld. And I woke up the next morning and Fred was like still with me. I mean, like, it was very, he's gone, but then he's here. It was kind of a beautiful, beautiful thing. I mean, you miss the form for a certain time, but you are compensated by the fact that they're still here, you know, as opposed to a lot of people that think that, you know, you're gone and that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Can I share another little saying?
Yeah.
A friend of mine, she reminded me of this in one of the groups that I ran, and I totally forgot about it because we were talking about fear and how there's so much fear out there right now. And there's two sides to fear. And I don't know where I got this one either, and I feel badly, but I didn't invent it. So it's an acronym. Forget everything and run, or face everything and rise.
Wow. Beautiful.
Wow.
I can quote Yogi Berra.
I can quote Yogi Bear.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
The future ain't what it used to be.
Oh, mixed up.
Or here's one that I like: give up all hope of a better past.
That's a good one.
Although as you look back, it often gets better somehow.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, this person who Terry's talking about, who's grieving over her husband, she was having a terrible time during the marriage and talked about leaving him constantly. But,
When
in
the
the
person's
rearview mirror,
gone, yeah.
and
Then you really feel all that it gave to you.
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, I mean, the Mandali always said that they just, they didn't feel that they loved Baba enough,
Mhm.
and it's always, I always feel that, you wish you could have loved more deeply. And there's always, and I don't mean to, that you feel bad about it. I mean, bad in a negative sense, but it's very hard to love people the way we wish we could, especially when they go, you realize I could have done a lot more. It's a painful consequence, I guess.
So it's like Baba says, we really, I think we always do our best. We really do. We really try. And Baba says, do your best and leave the results to me. So whatever the results are, they really do belong to him, not to us.
Yeah. But I mean, Eric said, I mean, we just kind of took him for granted. Talking about Baba. Oh, he wanted me to do this. I did this. And after this, I did that. And I did this, and then you look up and wow.
Yeah.
You just didn't. It was very hard to stay present. But Eric, I once asked Eric, we all know how Balkauchuri, how Baba, no, I said, you were, with Baba side by side, people would come and be overwhelmed by Baba's love and presence. What did you experience in Baba's presence?
You had to shut it down.
And he said, you mean, did I feel the vibes? He used that term from us. He said, Baba is just like an ordinary person. I said, an ordinary person? Yeah, I didn't feel anything. But if he had started, but later on I heard that he said, if he started feeling his love for Baba, he said, I would have become a must. So in order to serve, they had to keep an eye on not letting too much love come in, feeling come in there, because they would have become dysfunctional.
I have a reading from Bao that relates to what we were just talking about.
Good, go for it.
I'll just read the first part of it. It says, there are stones, vegetables, insects, fish, birds, animals, and human beings. They wander here and there and go on changing clothes. And with an asterisk underneath it says, taking births. They suffer pain and enjoy happiness. But you speak the truth, that nothing happens from beginning to end. Oh, Meher, your game is beyond understanding. Everything happens, but in reality, nothing does.
Yeah. I know that's. And we'll get that at the last moment.
Yeah.
Ah, it never happened. Oh my God. Yeah, let's have a few moments of silence before we begin.
Okie dokie.
Jai Baba. Yeah, in the last few sections we've read, Darwin has talked about a spiritual bypass. And I remember reading where Rick Chapman, and he shared it, where when he, in that memorable time when he was with Baba in the Mandalay Hall, and Rick, I mentioned this before, he was a real seeker. And Baba said for him to, forget about spirituality, forget about the planes of consciousness, forget about spiritual experiences. Now, what kind of master discourages his followers from being open to spiritual experiences? I mean, that's really pretty rare. But that's because Baba has something much greater to offer. and that greater than spiritual experience, because Baba invites us to experience his reality, which is actually beyond the spiritual world. Darwin said that Baba's reality has no impressions. It has no good or bad or even spiritual impressions. But he would say that Baba was impressionless being. In other words, he's free of impressions. So Baba dissolves our impressions, even our spiritual impressions, rather than to give us more impressions. So it's very unusual to bypass. I have a master who asks us to bypass the spiritual realm and go to the reality itself. And that's, we have somehow stumbled upon God himself. And Eric shared this metaphor. I don't know if he got it from Baba, but it took place right outside Mandalay Hall. And the sky was like, in the metaphor, the sky is God, the sky is the divine. And standing on the ground just outside Mandalay Hall, that's like being in the gross plane. And then being on the roof of Mandalay Hall is like being on the sixth plane. So you can see that the distance between the distance between someone on the gross plane and someone on the sixth plane is minimal compared to the sky that's way out there, so to speak. So that was the metaphor. And Adi, I think I've shared this before, Adi said the difference between someone on the gross plane and someone on the sixth plane is someone on the gross plane is drowning in 6,000 feet of water, and someone on the sixth plane is drowning in 6 inches of water, but they're both drowning. And I had so we're really lucky because it's like Darwin said, Baba is impressionless being. Any impressions you give to him are dissolved and gone. We're not picking up spiritual impressions, we're losing our impressions. This is Baba's description of grace. This is another way he describes it. So this is very interesting. This is Baba's description of grace from a slightly different angle. Very short, called the flash from the eternal. The act of a perfect master is not repetitive. It is not merely the redoing of something previously experienced in the context of a new setting. It is the doing of something that cannot be done within the restrictions of the experiences of duality. It is the creation of the utterly new, a descent of the truth into the false. Hence, its creativity is infinite. The redeeming act of a perfect master is a flash of the eternal in the midst of what is otherwise nothing but rigidly determined causation. This is the mystery of divine grace bestowed by the perfect master. So what Darwin's saying, if we can draw that grace, we can get out of our karma and the usual kind of slow, rigidly determined causation, and things new can happen. But anyway, so that's.
Yeah, Jeff, when you said spiritual impressions, are you speaking of impressions like on the planes? I'm not exactly sure what you refers to.
Yeah, the spiritual impressions that you can get on the higher planes, and they're more and more refined as you arise in the through the planes as you get up to the sixth plane. But they're still impressions, and we're being invited into the impressionless. So to go to Baba, we're losing impressions. To go to a sixth plane saint, you may be gaining spiritual impressions. And I mean, I should say that, these great saints on these planes are helping the world and everything, and they're working for Baba. I'm not downplaying spiritual experience or spiritual stations where people work on behalf of humanity, but Baba's inviting us, if we want, for this spiritual bypass or shortcut.
Hi, Jeff, I absolutely love that flash from the eternal.
Mhm.
It's one of the most refreshing things I have heard in a very long time, and I wondered if you would read it again. It was very short.
Okay. It's possible to pass over this, but
It's Passover.
yeah, and but we're not going to pass over this.
Don't pass over this.
The flash from the eternal. The act of a perfect master is not repetitive. It is not merely the redoing of something previously experienced in the context of a new setting. It is the doing of something that cannot be done within the restrictions of the experiences of duality. It is a creation of the utterly new, a descent of the truth into the false. Hence, its creativity is infinite. The redeeming act of a perfect master is a flash of the eternal in the midst of what is otherwise nothing but rigidly determined causation. This is the mystery of divine grace bestowed by the perfect master, or the avatar.
Beautiful. I mean, we would say it's like a meta level, in modern talk, that at a meta level things jump out, but it's said much, much more beautifully than that, and it's said in a way which really enlivens the heart. I feel Baba's words did in that.
Yeah, we are. I know Mara said, if you were to thank Baba for all that he's done for you, your whole life wouldn't be long enough. And a lot of this, we don't even know Baba is doing it. And we're not necessarily even conscious of it. Yeah.
Spiritual bypass, page 68 of the book, page 40 of the PDF.
At a certain point, if we have enough spiritual maturity, we realize that the conditioned level is brought forth because of imagination and therefore is not as substantial as it appears to be. We become aware that we can bypass that whole level, and all our previous methods for disconditioning our minds and start to burn through the walls of the spiral that is propelling us toward the truth, instead of continuing around via the long process. This is what I call the spiritual bypass. Taking this bypass, we go directly to first cause, to the absolute, to the truth itself, which is experienced at the level of the unconscious. This is a major step in the conquest of the unconscious that Meher Baba describes. This is what the activity of grace is. This is what direct effort is. But we have not attained absolute truth itself. Am I still there? Okay, sorry. I just looked up and my screen went blank. Oh dear. This is the major step in the conquest of the unconscious that Meher Baba describes. This is what the activity of grace is. This is what direct effort is. But we have not attained absolute truth itself. We have made an effort in that direction. It is the nearest we can get to the truth through our continuing process of refinement. It is like being asleep and having a dream in which we are very much engrossed, and then partially waking up and realizing, I don't have to go through all this. I can wake up, and it all dissolves. The heart gets cleared up, cleansed, so that pure light can flow through the heart center and pure truth can be asserted. When one then enters fully into the love realm. At this level, one is aware of the soul-loving Baba, and one gives everything to him as one would give a bouquet of roses to one's beloved. To avail ourselves of this extraordinary bypass, tremendous self-awareness is required, but this can be the work, the effort. We are still existing in time-bound illusion, however, and may not be able to dwell in this level all the time, but we can still fall back on our chosen method of dealing with our sanskaras. With your car, your shift from lower to second gear, then in high gear. We do not just start out in the high gear. Spiritually, you go gradually until you become aware that you can take the spiritual bypass and go straight to God or the truth. Jai Baba.
Okay, I don't think I totally understand this here. I'm trying to take it in, and I don't know, something's not completely clicking with it. So I guess I don't know if anybody has any words of clarity to make this one click. Thanks. The heart gets cleared up and cleansed so that pure light can flow. At this level, one is aware of the soul-loving Baba, and one gives everything to him as one would give a bouquet of roses to one's own beloved. So is that what he's saying, that if we're giving everything to him continuously, that's the bypass?
Yeah, I would say, in other words, rather than being stuck with your going to say your sanskaric work of getting free from, instead of being involved in growth, you just turn, if you can, and remember Baba, say his name and focus on him and forget for the time being the growth. But then he says, if you're having trouble staying kind of focused one pointedly on Baba, then you kind of fall back and you have to do the work of getting free. The kind of sanskaric kind of disentangling. But when it's like kind of getting through a thicket. Once you kind of clear away a thicket, if you can see the light, you can go toward it. But if you lose the light and everything, then you got to go back to hacking away at the thicket to get another opening. A direct, focus direct on Bob. I mean, that was kind of the sense I have felt. You can step out of your conditioned life and just focus on Baba for the time being. Then if you get pulled back into the conditioning, then you got to extricate yourself from the conditioning to get back to Baba again. Does that make sense, kind of?
I think so, yes. I'm remembering hearing about past things before, just the whole process of cleansing the heart and just everything, how, I guess we can get very involved in the micromanaging of the different sanskaras coming up and then what happens and this and that and the different little techniques which are helpful to deal with it. But I feel like I can kind of see the whole level that goes on at, and that we can even go to a deeper level of awareness where we're even just letting Baba take care of that whole process and not getting ourselves involved in like the little micromanagement kind of mess of something like that.
Good. That at least that's kind of as I see it.
Thank you so much. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba, everyone. So at those moments in time when we are fortunate enough to experience Baba's grace, is Darwin implying that not only are we stepping aside from our conditioning, but also are we stepping aside from spiritual experience and going straight to God, straight to Baba? Is that what Darwin is saying?
I think so. I mean, Baba's presence as opposed to a spiritual presence. Baba's presence, which is not spiritual, but it's love. I mean, other people kind of chime in here, but I've always felt that Baba's presence is different from being spiritual. It's love as opposed to a spiritual experience. But I see some hands, so maybe we'll get rescued here.
Ken?
Hi, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Maybe a different perspective or a different angle. From my experience, sometimes this happens, you know, after the 4th or 5th time you get beaten down, or 40th or 50th time, life explodes on you and you can only blame it on Baba. And then be reminded that he's trying to wake you up, wake up. And then it's a lot easier to let go, become less and less attached.
Yeah. Beautiful. No, so true.
Yeah, wow. And Paula?
The part that to avail ourselves of this extraordinary bypass, tremendous self-awareness is required, but this can be the work, the effort. So when I was at Baba Samadhi, I said, Baba, will you please just take it? Just take it all, you know, just, can you do that? Would you do that? And he said, yes, but you have to know what you're giving me. And I think I don't always know how to do that. You know, when I listen to Darwin, it's like he had an incredible self-awareness, you know, and I think, you know, I don't know about other people, but in my life, I've had patterns of dissociating because I needed to do that to survive. So that self-awareness, it is work, and I don't think I always know how to do it. So there you have it.
Yeah. Yeah. I know Darwin used to say, you can't heal what you don't feel. The deeper the healing, the feeling, the deeper the healing. But I did write something up about this that I can send to you about giving to Baba, that what I gathered from Darwin. Yeah.
In fact, in a minute, I can post it. It's a Google
Okay.
Drive link, so.
I was thinking about that too, but it seems a lot of, like, there's almost a lot of, if not contradiction, certainly it's like going in different directions. And I think it would be great if we could read that one again. Because like he says, you know, everything will dissolve, but he talks about it being partial and waking up. So it's almost like he's talking about enlightenment and then talking about things along the way and the bypass, and it all just seems confusing to me. So I thought it'd be good to read it again.
Good. Yeah, let's take the last questions and then we'll have it read again.
Thanks.
And Janet?
Yeah, my question is, like, Jeff, when you were answering Anthony, you gave this image of the working through the briars and the brambles versus seeing the light. But what I'm confused about here a little bit is that in working through the briars and brambles, I thought we were also just giving our sanskars to Baba. And I don't think I have a real grasp of how this giving is different from those givings.
Yeah, I guess I would say it's the same. It's all whatever we can give. As we're going along, working through the brambles and everything, we're giving things to Baba so that we can kind of move toward some glimpse of the light beyond the forest of ourselves. And then it may close up and we have to, but it's all a matter of giving is the highest thing we can do as far as moving closer to Baba.
Thank you.
Wow.
Bill Cliff, maybe you can save us.
Yeah.
No way. I was just wondering, at the beginning of the second paragraph, taking this bypass, we go directly to first cause, to the absolute. Is there a previous section where Baba or Darwin talks about first cause, Jeff? And could we read that again? Because this is really important.
No, the first cause comes up later.
Oh, it
in
does.
the book, and he just somehow drops this in, but it needs it's going to need a little bit of clarity.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, clarification, because, yeah, I mean, Baba is the first cause.
Yeah.
But
everything is from Baba. I mean, that's the first cause. Everything goes to Baba. Everything.
Yeah.
Goes to Baba.
Rather than kind of going to a secondary place, you just go to Baba with our problems, go to Baba with our whatever. Go to the first cause, the unmoved mover. But yeah, this is I can see this is more subtle and more complex than meets the eye. We'll finish up these questions and then we'll read it again.
All right, Peter?
I'm challenged to describe what I'm thinking. I think the simple of it is well, to consider what spiritual bypass is when I look at focusing on Baba as opposed to focus on spirituality like Jeff is alluding to. Could it be simply stated spiritual bypass, or AKA constant and wholehearted remembrance? Because when I think about myself, is my remembrance constant? I think maybe unconsciously. Wholehearted? I don't think so. No. And when I see the line, I see this really super broad line that one has to traverse to go from constant through wholehearted. And I just remember Rustam Fallah. This is more than I expected to say. I remember a story where Rustam was arguing with Erich, asking him about how do you solve a problem. And Erich was telling him through constant and wholehearted remembrance. And Rustam was saying, but I am. And he kept on arguing with him. And I'm thinking to myself, if a resident Mandali, if a resident isn't quite there yet, oh my God, where am I? That I almost feel like it disqualifies me from the spiritual bypass, which is disappointing, but maybe fact of life. So I'm thinking it is, there's that very, very broad line that still needs to be traversed. And where am I is anybody's riddle or guess. And I think I'll just pass with that and say uncle.
Good, Peter. No, this is interesting. What's coming up? Yeah.
And Elizabeth?
Yeah, so I'm trying to link together certain words and meanings in various paragraphs. So the first one that caught my eye was the fact that the heart gets cleared up, cleansed, and pure light flows to the heart center, etc. One then enters into the love realm. And that's when you're aware of the soul loving Baba. And at the very end of that sentence, it says, to avail ourselves of this extraordinary bypass, tremendous self-awareness is required. but this can be the work, the effort. So the work of self-awareness is the effort. However, he also talks about direct effort in the second paragraph. So that comes from taking the bypass, we go directly to first cause, the absolute. So the truth itself, which is experienced at the level of the unconscious. So here we know that the truth they're talking about, which is the first cause, which is the absolute, which is Baba, soul Baba, is experienced at the unconscious. So we have to bring up what's in the unconscious, which is what Baba did constantly with all the mandala and everybody he was working with. Then he says, this is a major step in the conquest of the unconscious that Mayor Baba describes. And then he says, this is the activity of grace. This is what direct effort is. So there seems to be a distinction between direct effort. And somehow direct effort is related to grace. And maybe this is also brings in the concept of our faith in the master, the having the faith and trusting, which also implies obedience, allows this truth to be drawn from the unconscious. I think that's it. Yeah.
Boy. Okay, we'll see if the next three people clarify that as they as they bring up their things. Go ahead.
Meher Prasad.
Yeah. So, my experience has been that a lot of times we go through these emotions where we think I'm moral, I'm immoral, I'm spiritual, I'm not spiritual, I love Baba, I don't love Baba, all these million other things that keep happening. And sometimes it becomes very hard to give certain things to Baba, and we experience a block kind of a thing, and we don't know why that's happening. And it helps to remember that I am not this self that I think I am, but I'm in fact, Baba is my real self. And if we just remember that and stay focused on that part for some time, the whole thing that we are struggling with really dissolves. I think that's what spiritual bypass is.
Yeah.
Really thinking that being focused on your real self, which is Baba, and remembering that he is your real self and not all these things that you're going through in your movements. And that really helps dissolve all of that in my experience. Anyway, that's it.
Excellent. Yeah. I think that's a great explanation of it. The direct focus on Baba, the remembrance of Baba, and not remembering ourselves so much is the speediest way. Yeah, beautiful.
And Gabriella?
Most of the things I was going to say were past, but I'll just say quickly that I remember while it's a little back in the conversation, but why does it not happen? Why do I not get to be direct to Baba sometimes? Like I remember being at the Samadhi, and my experience was this enormous longing came through, and I'd never felt it that deep. And I said to Baba, why don't you do this? Why don't you show this to me all the time? And I heard, you couldn't handle it. That his compassion, he gave me the bit I could handle. And maybe my whole life is about being able to develop a little more capacity for longing. The other thing was, we were talking earlier about grace, the whole thing you read for me, Jeff, twice. I appreciate that. And this spiritual bypass, it says if it's coming from us going through the spiritual bypass, but if we think about it, Baba is actually coming down from above with grace, bringing the real into the false, then that's the real bypass. He's doing it
Yeah.
all. It looks like we're doing some work. Thanks.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, that's excellent. This is getting clearer as we go along here. We even got Anthony Cortez back. Another round.
Wendy's up first, and then Anthony.
I think Mayhair, for me, you nailed it. It just, because from the point, I'm not sure what paragraph, the second from the end, where it said, at this level, one is aware of the soul loving Baba, and one gives everything to him as one would give a bouquet of roses to one's beloved. I didn't think I was going to be able to continue. I could feel that pain in my chest coming up. And I just feel what you said is true. When you're trying to figure this all out, but if you just go back to that place and can reconnect with Baba, you don't have to be perfect. Everything's good. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah. No, excellent.
And Anthony.
Well, thank you, Wendy. I totally agree. Meher Prasad really opened this one up for me too with his comment. What was coming to me was the three of the lines in Baba's Life at Its Best poem. The one where he says, if misunderstood, life becomes a pest. And then the last two lines here, just incredible. For pilgrims of the path, life is a test, but when relinquished through love, life is at its best. I remember just reading that of where he's talking, I don't know, I almost feel from this like he's saying that being a pilgrim of the path is just some phase you go through where you're viewing, life as a test, and the sanskara is getting cleansed and all that stuff that goes into the process of being a pilgrim. And I get from this that, we're to give that up. We won't necessarily get right to that love when seeing life as this test, like pilgrims that are on the path, going through the cleansings, doing the different techniques and all that, and that the love, which I would think is represented by Baba, remembering Baba, being cheerful, everything he asks us to do, is in a place that's above that whole mode of being a pilgrim and going through this. And for me, it was just huge to even start to see that, because it's like, what are we all doing here as Baba lovers? We're on some type of spiritual path, and it's like he's asking us to like give up that whole like journey and struggle and just be right in love with him. At least that's what I was getting from it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Yeah. Remembering Baba in any way, shape, or form is the bypass. Any way you can, you wake up, you try to do this for Baba, that for Baba, you remember him, you eat for him, you talk about him, you read up about his life. All of that is the bypass. But when we fall back into our own hangups, then we have to kind of go into plan B and try to work our way free to get back to plan A again.
Jeff, I remember there was an illustrative story where Baba basically, the punchline is that the planes are very distracting as well. So we all in this conversation seem to be talking about like in our gross world, but as we traverse the planes, those can be very distracting as well. And perhaps a spiritual bypass is to avoid those traps as well.
Yeah, that's what Eric said, because Baba said that you think the gross world is complicated and it takes many lifetimes to get the hang of the gross world. The subtle world is infinitely more complex than this one. Who wants to go all the way and spend all eons of time in there when we could just bypass? Because eventually we got to get back on the train and go to the next station. Yeah. So good. Stu is going to clarify everything, folks.
All right, ready?
I have my doubts about that, but it strikes me that woven in here, underlying everything, there's a continuum, and I think it's been said, a continuum of the purity of our efforts, of the clarity with which Baba shines through for us. But it strikes me that the more fully and clearly and cleanly we can love Baba in any given moment, give to him from ourselves, remember him, that we're cutting through more deeply in the bypass and more fully toward the first cause, but I think there's a continuum built in there.
Yeah. So Robin wanted us to read this again. Shall we go ahead? Robin,
The spiritual bypass. At a certain point, if we have enough spiritual maturity, we realize that the conditioned level is brought forth because of imagination and therefore is not as substantial as it appears to be. We become aware that we can bypass that whole level and all our previous methods for deconditioning our minds and start to burn through the walls of the spiral that is propelling us toward the truth instead of continuing around via the longer process. This is what I call the spiritual bypass. Taking this bypass, we go directly to first cause, to the absolute, to the truth itself, which is experienced at the level of the unconscious. This is a major step in the conquest of the unconscious that Mayor Baba describes. This is what the activity of grace is. This is what direct effort is. But we have not attained absolute truth itself. We have made an effort in that direction. It is the nearest we can get to the truth through our continuing process of refinement. It's like being asleep and having a dream in which we are very much engrossed, and then partially waking up and realizing, I don't have to go through all this. I can wake up, and it all dissolves. The heart gets cleared up, cleansed, so that pure light can flow through the heart center, and pure truth can be asserted. One then enters fully into the love realm. At this level, one is aware of the soul loving Baba, and one gives everything to him as one would give a bouquet of roses to one's beloved. To avail ourselves of this extraordinary bypass, tremendous self-awareness is required, but this can be the work, the effort. We are still existing in time-bound illusion, however, and may not be able to dwell at this level all the time, but we can still fall back on our chosen method of dealing with our sanskaras. With your car, you shift from lower to second gear, then into high gear. We do not just start out in high gear. Spiritually, you go gradually until you become aware that you can take the spiritual bypass and go straight to God or the truth. It's still, if I can just say, it still feels like he's saying we can and then saying, but not quite. And I know it's hard and everything, but it still feels kind of confusing to me and I like what Peter said, it's like there's such a fine line and yet a gulf between being able to do all of this and not. And what Nehar Prasad said, I think that instead of trying to think so hard about it and work so hard at it and all that, if we can just remember that Baba's doing all of this and have that as an experience more and more, that whether we understand this or not, that's the way to go, the only way to go. Just give it over to him. I mean, as soon as I even think that I'm thinking of him or giving it to him, I know that my mind is in the way. So anyway, that's it. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
Jai Baba, everybody. Great conversation here. My input is just the presence is in the present moment. So the more awareness we have, he repeats this word awareness several times, Darwin does, of the present moment, that is where we feel the true love of the beloved. And it's only in those present moments that the beloved wakes us up. We don't do it. The mind, I mean, you were just saying it just now, Robin. The mind is not, it's not through the mind. Everything will happen through us, through his grace. Our role is to waken to the present moment, which is what Mayor Prasad was talking about. If we're not there yet, the best advantage for us is to just immerse our thoughts in the present moment of having Baba in that moment. And then Baba gives us all this. I mean, if we sit here and discuss it all the time, which is helpful, and we're all in this moment together, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the concerted efforts because it supports the effort I make as the Patty drop soul. But really, it's all about expanding the awareness so that we're aware of Baba's love. And through his love, then we got the source happens in us. And then it's easier to have whatever we're going to have. Jai Baba.
Yeah, beautiful. Excellent.
Yeah.
Very clear.
And Diane or Terry?
I think what really moved me was giving a bouquet of flowers to your lover. There's something about that if you stay in that moment and you can feel it, you're so present when you're doing it and you're so excited, and your heart is so open in that moment, that for me, I'm just going to remember that moment and then I'm giving it to Baba because it's just, I don't know, there's something about that really, I can feel it so much within myself, how that feels, that it just, I don't know, it's a trick. It works. Thank you, Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Beautifully said, because it's all the stuff we don't want, and yet he actually finds it the most joyful thing to receive. What a concept. And Hugh.
I think Baba is offering to take us on the spiritual bypass. As a number of people have mentioned, what Darwin is saying that Baba is telling us is that the activity of grace is what dissolves our veils. And that's the way that Baba pulls us on to the spiritual bypass.
Yeah. That Baba gives the figure of turn around toward the light and your shadows will be behind you. I mean, that ideally the best way. But sometimes we get caught in the shadows and we have to extricate ourselves from the shadows until we can see the light, and then we'll face that direction. So the work is when we kind of get snagged by the shadows for a while. And any way we can extricate ourselves from that with Baba so that we can turn around and be in his loving presence in the present moment. as Patty said. Yeah. Okay, well, let's go on to, we got one section done here. We're moving along here at glacial pace.
But we're on to a new paradigm, so
Yeah.
life is good. Cindy, care to read?
Yes. A new paradigm. When we take the spiritual bypass, we are standing upon the truth within. We create a new paradigm of who I am, a paradigm based on one's ideal, the beloved, and we resolve to stick to it through thick and thin. We resolve to counteract the inertia of the false self and refuse to be victimized by our old limiting paradigm of who we thought we were. We live a kind of double life. While dwelling consciously in the unconscious, we have to be rational and function normally in the world. We have to live and assert the truth, and yet at the same time live in the world in right adjustment to it. Baba himself is there to help us do this. He said in 1936 to the Westerners he had called to India, "I will teach you how to move in the world, yet be at all times in inward communication with me as the infinite being." I feel that this applies to each one of us in accordance with our capability and interest in taking the spiritual bypass. We can learn to live at the inner level all the time. It is restful, like getting beyond the choppy waves to the deep, calm sea. Dwelling in the unconscious consciously, we experience stillness, peace, and fulfillment. But the main thing we experience is divine love. Continuous oceans of pure love flow through our hearts. We leave the I far behind. However, we must remain vigilant and be aware of surreptitious sanskaras slipping in from all directions. If they do intrude, bring them into the stillness, where they will dissolve into nothing, like salt dissolving in water. If we make these efforts, with the Master's grace, our ideal will manifest and become our reality. Someday, when we get through with all of this, we will discover that all along we have been dwelling in the kingdom of God.
Ooh, beautiful. Boy, he really says it all there. And that expression, Darwin used to say, I kind of live a double life. I mean, that was kind of one of his things. So he's living at an inner level, but he's outwardly doing these other things. But he would kind of jokingly call it a double life.
Cindy?
I like that, jokingly calling it a double life. That's what I was thinking, to be a secret agent, like to have some fun here in this existence. I'm living a double life, and you have your superhero name or whatever your mask self is. My mask self is Cindy James. That's the mask that I wear in my double life. But inside, I just long to let the infinite love of God have its way with me and let me be that in the world. And I think, like, for spirituality, when Darwin was talking about imagination in the last thing that we read, but that imagination channeled into this kingdom of God everywhere. I think it's like our superpower on the way to the real superpower. So I want to be a secret agent, like, or a double agent or a double life. I'm going for that.
Yeah. I used to call him Clark Kent.
Perfect.
Mild-mannered reporter from for a great metropolitan newspaper.
And I think we all are.
Yeah. And to kind of live with that and not feel like you're being false. Yeah.
And that's the truth where you say all the time that Darwin would say that
I think Darwin said it, but that Baba lovers make the mistake of thinking they're small, and anything that makes us feel small or makes others think we're small, or that we would make others feel small, is our lower self.
Yeah.
You know, that's
Those
great.
are exactly what Baba said. Yeah.
Chapter 13, page 71.
Facing our falseness. Baba says to us, the way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not of weakness. And through it, you become mature in my love. One more time. The way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not of weakness. And through effacement, through it, you become mature in my love. Efface, efface, efface. Darwin writes to us and says, Meher Baba is really all powerful, like a divine magician. He can do anything. If we completely open to him and do not limit him by holding on to limiting beliefs. And we must not limit ourselves either. We must not limit ourselves either, nor should we condemn ourselves. Baba works on our self-esteem, our sense of self-worth and self-confidence, because low self-esteem pushes our consciousness in the wrong direction toward negativism. We need high self-esteem, but without egoism. Self-esteem equates with lifting one's spirits, not lifting the false self. Self-esteem of the spirit rather than of the ego is important to retain. Self-esteem is more like a sense of integration, the bringing together of the scattered self, not like the man who got on his horse and rode off all directions. When one is on the path, self-integration occurs of the false self that is gradually shed. The path of self-effacement. Our illusionary existence is maintained by our belief that we are the body or the personality, but in reality, we are nothing. In reality, we are nothing. Meher Baba once gave a discourse called On to Be Nothing, in which he said, to be nothing means truth. When your being is not, you are God. When your being is not, you are God. But the ego still asserts itself, and that is why self-effacement is so important. But the ego still asserts itself, and that is why self-effacement is so important. We combine the opposites of effacement and self-esteem in order to move toward nothingness. It seems paradoxical, and in a way it is paradoxical. One is nothing, yet beyond the opposites, one is everything. Too many people think of effacement as something negative. The fact that we are nothing is a positive, strong point, and self-effacement should be practiced in a positive light. Keeping the self out of our thoughts and allowing the spirit of Baba to come through. Keeping the self out of thoughts and allowing the spirit of Baba to come through, remembering him more and more. Of course, we must start with integrity of purpose as spiritual aspirants. And this requires taking a different road than that traveled by a worldly person. As I heard somebody say this morning, interviewing the Scottish poet Michael Longley, his wife used to say to him, accept compliments, but don't inhale them. It's sort of like the woman is saying, accept compliments, have a good self-esteem, but don't inhale it. Don't take it too seriously. One last paragraph. Following the path of effacement, which maintaining self-esteem, it involves a lot of work. In 1962, at the East-West Gathering in India, Meher Baba, the beloved, had me read out a passage from him called My Dear Workers, in which Baba said, the way of my work is the way of effacement, which is the way of strength, not weakness. And through effacement, through effacement, you become mature in my love. So this path involves developing a more selfless attitude. This path involves developing a more selfless attitude.
The hallmark of spiritual progress is through self-effacement rather than worthiness. With our awareness that we really are nothing comes the realization that we do not have to try to be anything anymore. We finally decide to give up the futile pursuit of trying to become something. The situation that comes up in our lives gives us ideal opportunities to see where we are still claiming something. As we give up those claims, giving everything to Baba and letting go, we then begin to see everything as Mayavik, and not serious. In other words, we come to realize that life itself is not to be taken seriously. It is no longer seen as reality. We turn off the wanting machine and remain calm and undisturbed within. All this is part of the path of self-effacement. The path of self-effacement also involves self-denial. Self-denial does not mean pushing away a second piece of pie. It means taking our stand on the truth within and denying the ego self. This level of self-denial is more subjective than objective. It is certainly not something that can be displayed, nor can there be any measuring. The path of self-effacement leads to deeper mysticism and deeper faith in God, in truth, in reality. This path includes peering into the kingdom of God while here on earth, and especially experiencing some of the bliss and insight that comes with it. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Hi, Jai Baba. Such a beautiful topic here. Self-effacement. The more I read and I see more of Baba's words, how carefully used, the more I come to a realization that the human mind just sticks to the surface of the words. And Baba's words have much more deeper, enlightening meaning at a deeper and much deeper depth. It almost feels like every single word, like Don Stevens had once described, every single word carries a nuclear bomb kind of worth of energy and power. It feels like, you could spend an entire lifetime just behind unleashing, unraveling the truth, hidden truth behind that word. And to, it just feels like a treasure hunt once you come to that point. Just thought I would share this little piece.
Yeah,
Jai Baba.
beautiful. Yeah. I know it's amazing that Darwin just sat down in his 90s and just typed this stuff off on a typewriter. I mean, a lot of it, just amazing. With all these little nuances. It's just, yeah.
This quote of Baba is my most all-time favorite, the effacement quote. I think I mentioned this a few times before, but I read that quote every single day before I start my day. And, Baba's quotes have such a tremendous impact. If you read them over and over and you make it a practice, they really, Baba really helps you internalize that in a big way. And I've seen that this particular quote, makes a big difference when you read it every day and you go through your experience through the day and have basically Baba makes you realize the importance of this particular quote. But I liked what Darwin said in this, which I never paid attention to, but I want to read this particular paragraph that I didn't really connect with self-effacement. He says, the situations that come up in our lives give us ideal opportunities to see where we are still claiming something. As we give up those claims, giving everything to Baba and letting go, we then begin to see everything as Mayavik and not serious. In other words, we come to realize that life itself is not to be taken seriously. It is no longer seen as reality. We turn off the wanting machine and remain calm and undisturbed within. All this is part of the path of self-effacement. That's such a tremendous amount of clarity that he gave in that little paragraph of what is self-effacement, what constitutes some parts of self-effacement. It's amazing to see how much we claim, at least it is true for me, that every single day we are always trying to claim that I'm so and so, I'm this, I'm that. All of that is, is so true what he's saying in this paragraph. Anyway, I never really connected that to the self-effacement, but it's great clarity that Darwin gave here.
Yeah.
For me anyway.
Yeah. And being relieved of having to be somebody or something, that, Darwin once said that there comes a time in your inner life when you could be a great many things. You could be a great poet, a great orator, a great artist, a great dancer. All of those abilities are there, but you have to, but he said, you have to just pass by. Not saying that you shouldn't be an artist, but there's a temptation to go and make a spectacular life for yourself. And you even kind of slip by that. I was amazed when, I was a young kid and to hear that. Yeah.
And Roshni, for whom it is 4:15 a.m.
Hi, Jai Baba. So happy first day to be with you all after many, many Sundays. So based on this paragraph, I would like to read something from the book Teachings, actually. How to Dissolve the Mind, Meherabad, 1931. There are three ways to bring about the complete dissolution of the mind or the annihilation of the lower self through the instrumentality of the mind itself. These three ways may be called 1, the positive process, 2, the negative process, and 3, the turning process. 1. The positive process consists in spending away all the past sanskaras and thereby gaining mental freedom. The sanskaras cannot be spent away unless all the desires are satisfied. Past sanskaras are the cause of present desires, and so if they are so satiated as to destroy them, no new attachments will be formed, and besides, the past sanskaras will be wiped out. Sri Samarth Ram Das, before he realized God, destroyed his desire of eating porridge, of which he was very fond of satiating it. He so much partook of it that he had to vomit it all out. He swallowed the vomited porridge and again it came out. 40 times he ate and vomited it, and thus his fondness for it was turned into dislike of it. It is not possible for all persons to gain mental freedom in this way. 2. The negative process consists in self-denial, that is neither fulfilling old desires nor forming new ones. The normal fulfillment of old desires results in the formation of new sanskaras, which engender new desires. So, one must follow the denial course in order to gain liberation. Arab Shah Wali, a well-advanced Muslim saint, one day felt the desire for sexual intercourse. He took recourse to a strange method in order to deny his desire. He picked up a big stone and with it crushed his private organ, which became impaired for good. As he did not try to alleviate his pain, it gave no opportunity to his mind to think of sexual intercourse any longer. Of course, this is an extreme case of self-denial, but even ordinary self-denial can be practiced by only a few persons. Third, the turning process is the best and safest way to gain mental freedom. It consists in turning the mind away from worldly things and directing it towards spirituality. This can be done by selfless service, tapas, constant prayer, and last but not least, satsang. So satsang is a two-word part. Sat means truth, sang means company. So satsang is a word which means in the company of truth. Avtar Meher Baba ki jai.
Yeah.
Tapas means dhyan, controlling of our senses. I feel it's great to the part of effacement where so many times, in another one where Baba talks about how mind tries to fool us so many times and to always discern with what the heart is saying instead of what the mind is trying to say. Because mind is always trying to, I feel, push us to see what it wants us to see and hear what it wants us to hear and believe what it wants us to believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Baba.
Good. Thank you, Roshni.
And Robin?
I just, our discussion is at a higher level than what I'm going to say. But what happens to me sometimes is like something happens and it's kind of like something that normally a person would react to, even like the death of a friend, which I just had happen, or somebody does something and it would normally be upsetting. And then I think, well, I don't need to respond to this in quote a normal, like in our culture way, but it's like, well, so what do I do in the meantime? Am I just going to like not participate, with other people and stuff? So it's kind of like, I know better, but I may as well keep on acting like a quote normal person until until I get out of here or something like, I don't know.
That's the double life that
yeah.
Darwin was talking about.
Something like that.
It's
right?
not something to be ashamed of. Yeah. Or that you're being untrue. Yeah.
But it's sort of like, I don't know where to file it. You know what I mean? If I see through something, it is like a double thing and I'm not really there enough. So I think, well, I'll just sort of go along and act like I'm attached or have desires. And I do then too. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a catch-22 for sure.
Yeah. Good point. Good example.
Yeah. And Janet?
Yeah, I just want to say how much I've appreciated our, from what Roshni just said about in the company of truth. I felt that it's my sense, certainly for myself and for others who've been speaking, that there's been a strong desire to understand on a deeper level, on a more a deeper truth of what Darwin's words have been. And it has really impacted me today. And I just want to express appreciation for that.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, one of Kitty's favorite lines from the Bible is "Not I, but Christ liveth in me," where you kind of so effaced that, Baba is living through you. And I remember asking Merwan Jesawala, Merwan, you spent like 1 month out of the year at Marizad, and you spent hours upon hours in Mandalay Hall with Baba there. What were the thoughts and feelings that were going through you? Like a little bit of some of the thoughts that would go through you and feelings. He said, I had no thoughts or feeling, no awareness of any thoughts or feelings. I mean, I'm just saying that is real self-effacement, where he had vacated himself and he's over into Baba. I mean, I said, let me shake your hand, Merwan, because practically nobody could, there's no way I could do that. I'd be thinking, I wonder how Baba feels about me. And is he happy with me today? Or, you know what I mean? And he was beyond all of that. And I think the other people in Mandalay Hall, the other Mandalay, were probably the same way. So they were just vehicles, conduits for Baba's infinite love going out through them to the world. The tavern, that's the Sufi tavern, I would say, yeah. So we are getting down toward the end here. Any other thing? And then I was going to ask Bill Cliff to sing a song, one of Gene Shaw's favorite songs. And I think it may have been sung in the barn at one point when Baba was here in Myrtle Beach.
Jeff, could I ask a question?
Yeah.
Jeff, so the cerebral bypass, our encouragement to be with Baba as much as we can, say his name, constant companion with Baba, self-effacement, very, very important. And yet, what Roshani just read a few minutes ago, to me, reminds me to be very mindful, because that mind, that ego-driven mind, does come up. And when one either forgets to be self-effacing, which happens a lot, or when one doesn't even have that as a way to begin the day, as Meher Prasad said, when that egoic driven mind of habitual samskaric ways that have been with us for lifetimes kicks in, not to take away from what we've been encouraged to do. Just say, Baba, 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 be with his love, offer everything we do to him as much as we can. Yet, what needs to be said about the egoic mind? Because over the years, this discussion comes up from time to time, and this cerebral bypass can sometimes mean you're not in touch with reality. You're kind of going into a place of, I don't want to use the word make believe, but I mean, on a very personal level, I am ego-driven, much more than I'd like to be, much more than I even probably am aware of. I'm not trying to be self-effacing now either. I'm really saying, what do we need to talk about in terms of really putting some of this egoic-driven samskaras into reality? Because we do embrace Baba, we do love Baba, we try to do everything as if Baba's speaking through our voice, working through our body as we're doing what we're doing in the day. But what needs to be said to put this, I hesitate to use the word into perspective, but what needs to be said so that when we go through that green light on the traffic highway of Baba, we're going at the right speed. I mean, it's not the best conscious way to put it, but it's sort of a very fumbling way. But the green light says, love Baba, serve Baba, remember Baba. And yet, we have to go at the right speed. And sometimes that speed is screwed up because the ego kicks in. What do we need to bear in mind so that we don't do a cerebral bypass is what I really meant to say. The spiritual bypass that Darwin is saying, forgive me for misconstruing it. I really meant cerebral bypasses. And I'm wondering, what needs to be said? There are some people here who have insight on that, that may have insight, that I hope that, you know what I'm saying? I'm struggling to just say what is important for us to bear in mind when our egoic self rises. Sorry it took so long to get that question out.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a minute of talking about.
Yeah. I know. Let's think if we should bring that up at the beginning of next time, or, I mean, that is a very, very good thing, you know, how to not awaken the Doberman pincer of the ego mind, you know. But that is, I think we could talk about that, and I have a feeling that I don't know what's in the next sections, but keep that in mind, and we'll approach that, because that's the thing, you know. There is, you know, what they call a kind of a cerebral or a mental bypass, which isn't the heart bypass. It isn't the real bypass. It's kind of, and, you know, yeah, I mean, I think that bears going into in depth, unless somebody has a solid answer for that. But I think that's something that bears going into. So Jeff, we're going to bring that up next time. So give a little background to this song. Maybe Hugh can also.
Well, this is, of course, a traditional hymn by C. Austin Miles. And I know that, I mean, my mother loved this hymn. You know, most people in that generation, this was like a hymn that they just loved to sing, and it really brought them home inwardly, you know. And of course, Gene loved it, Darwin loved it. It would be requested every once in a while at the meetings in Schenectady. And I'm sure that when, even in the early days, in the 30s and the 40s, I think they had an organ or something that Darwin used to play. I'm not sure, Jeff, but I'm sure this was a song that was sung quite often.
Yeah, that's Jean would almost break out in tears when she would hear this. She was so moved by this song.
I come to the garden alone, while the dew is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the Son of God discloses. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me that I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. He speaks, and the sound of his voice is so sweet, the birds hush their singing, and the melody that he gave to me within my heart is ringing. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me that I am his own. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. I'd stay in the garden with him, though the night around me be falling. But he bids me go through the voice of woe. His voice to me is calling. And he walks with me, and he talks with me, and he tells me that I am his own. and the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known. And the joy we share as we tarry there, none other has ever known.
Beautiful. You know, it's interesting because Darwin and Jean, they experienced, that's a Christian hymn, and that's Jesus. And when they met Baba, it was like meeting the Christ. You know, so that all those hymns became much more real because they recognized this was Christ come again, Jesus again. All the songs that you sing and, you know, you imagine Jesus, well, there he was in front of them. Well, shall we have a few moments of silence before we go? And but before we do, after a while, Stu is willing to give us a heart-centered meditation for anyone who wants to stay on after a while. Jai Baba. You know, when we have these silences at the end, it's like, to me, I can picture Baba on a dais giving us all his darshan. You know, it has that fullness and everything, like, and that's even on Zoom, giving us his darshan. So, Jeff, we won't be able to take up your question just now, but very good point. Anything that comes up with anybody, anything to share, or any loose ends or anything?
Yeah, for Jeff, this is pretty quick, but I forget to do this, but it's like, you know, you take Baba's name, talk to Baba, and my ego's in my way, so I tell it to go sit in the corner and get out of my way. Put a dunce cap on it and go sit in the corner and get out of my way.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, if you fight the ego, you know, there's a Sufi saying, if you, the ego is like a thief that steals into your house at night to get your valuables. If you bring a gun, your ego will have a gun. If you bring out a knife, the ego will have a knife. Whatever weapon you bring against it, it will have an equal weapon. So what do? The secret is you turn on the light.
Wow, yeah.
And the thief is a coward at heart. And how do you turn on the light? This is a Sufi saying, a remembrance of God, of the Lord. Remembrance of Baba. We're no match for the ego, I don't think. I mean, on our own. Okay, let's see. I guess Roshni.
Just a quick thing before leaving. So Ken had just written a while back about, I just want to see, detached but with love and compassion. And that reminded me that Baba had somewhere said that being in the world but not of the world. And then in the next few seconds, I was just flipping the book, which I read from Teachings, and it exactly opened to a page which exactly has this line which Baba has said. Does renunciation help a man's progress on the spiritual path? Meher Baba does not believe in external renunciation. For the West particularly, It is impractical and inadvisable. Renunciation should be mental. One should live in the world, perform all legitimate duties, and yet feel mentally detached from everything. One should be in the world, but not of it. Jai Baba.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Excellent.
This has been a rough one emotionally for me, this meeting, in a good way. When I read that line, I couldn't speak, and I'm going to do my best to say it as quickly as I can so I don't crash again. So when I read that line, and to throw Baba the bouquet, to give him the whole bouquet, and I felt this in my chest, and then I saw all these rose petals just floating everywhere. And the whole time we were talking today, I just felt Mama so close to all of us. It was, and I don't know what else to say, but Jai Baba, it was
beautiful.
I don't know what that was, but it was beautiful.
No, thank you. We need all the help we can get. Keep the rose petals blowing our way.
It was amazing. It was like, oh my goodness, what's happening to me? Oh, thank you, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Wendy. Yeah. Anything else that came up?
This is the view out my window right now.
Ooh, what is that?
Double rainbow.
A double rainbow. Look at that.
Oh.
Wow. Thank you, Ken. Wow. That just after, we got rose petals and rainbows all converging.
Where is that double rainbow?
Just outside our window in the valley of Oneonta, New York. It's still there. Don and I are just in a new home for the last almost 2 weeks.
Oh.
And on our first date, actually, coming up in 23 years now? No, more than that, 26 years. We had a double rainbow on our first date. So
Beautiful.
It's special significance.
Yeah. These are all like the Mondelez said, Baba's signature,
And
yeah, Wendy. Oh, no, I guess Wendy's got her hand up, but it's just probably left over. Anything else that comes up? Well, we could, if anybody wants to stay on for a heart-centered meditation. It's brief, but it's very powerful. And it's a way of bringing Baba into the heart. Oh, so, Stu.
Okay. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
And could everybody please mute? So start breathing into your belly and let yourself just settle back into wherever you're sitting or laying. And we'll let the world drift away even a little more during this time. And as you keep breathing into your belly, bring your awareness to your heart and your heart center. And take note of whatever you might see and feel there. And this is the home in all of us of Meher Baba's infinite love that's in us and around us and beyond us, always flowing. Always present in us if we can tune in. And just take a moment to be present with that love. And your awareness in your own heart. And now letting your heart guide you. Choose someone who you would like to focus on sharing the amazing gift of Meher Baba's infinite love. And this could be somebody you have had or having conflict with. This process can be magically powerful and healing. In that case, it could be somebody you already love and just would like to focus more love being sent to them. It could be somebody you know has been going through a lot of hardship or struggle. Or whoever comes to you, could be a person or a group. And let your heart guide you. And in this process, you're not trying to change anybody or bring about any particular happening. You'll just be focusing on sharing Baba's infinite love with them. So get a good image in your mind and your heart of whoever it is you've chosen. And breathe in as you see them and feel them, and pay attention to their heart and their heart center. And now start to picture Baba's infinite love flowing into their heart and their heart center. Just flowing generously without end. And I see this warm, liquid golden light of love. It's just endlessly but gently, generously flowing in and filling their entire heart, every little bit. And this love is healing, soothing. It's compassionate, forgiving, uplifting. Enlightening. It has endless qualities, and this love can do magic. And picture and feel the love is flowing and now overflowing through the whole heart center, flowing through their heart. And now generously filling every bit of their being. And keep breathing in as you continue to see the endless flow of this divine love. We never know what magic this love might bring. And now let's give thanks for being able to focus sharing Baba's infinite love with whoever you've chosen. And as you say farewell for now to them, know that you can return here again and again. And now gently bring your awareness back to your own heart and your heart center. And breathe in as you settle in there for a minute. And take note of whatever you might see and feel. And now start to see and feel Meher Baba's infinite love flowing into your own heart and heart center. It's flowing endlessly. And see and feel it filling your whole heart and your heart center, every little corner. And this love is healing, soothing, it's uplifting, it's expansive, it's forgiving, enlightening, and there's no end. You can never use it up. And now see this wonderful golden liquid light of love overflowing from your heart and your heart space. And flowing right through. And now filling every bit of your being. There's no little corner of you that this love is not filling in its generosity. And its endless magical qualities. And now let's give thanks for being able to focus on the flow of Baba's infinite love into our own hearts and our entire beings. And know that we can return here again and again. This endless well is there 24 hours a day. And now gently start to bring your awareness back to wherever you're sitting or laying. And as you continue to breathe into your belly, just let yourself gently come back to your surroundings. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. As we come back, if anybody would like to share, we'd love to hear you.
I'm still enjoying the rose petals.
I'm sorry.
I'm still enjoying the rose petals. That's all I can say right now.
That's great.
Thank you, Jay Baba.
Jay Baba. You're letting us enjoy them too.
I hope you can. I would love that. I would love that.
I'd like to share that if it felt like tonight for me, like the fruits of Baba's love, like, you know, that phrase that all the suffering amounts to practically nil. Once you realize God, I felt like I had a taste of that tonight, like a glimmer of all that supposed suffering was practically nil in the love and peace, expansive space of just being. Grateful for that. Thank you.
Wow, thank you. Glad for you. Yeah.
Baba.
That's great. And Alan, I just saw your comment about the wand.
Yes. It was unusual for me that I was intuiting that somehow. And even more special that it happened just prior to your including the word magical. We certainly think of a wand synonymous with magic, and there was a star at the end of the wand. And it went from one of my 4 sons to the next, and also my 4 grandchildren. And it sparkled in front of each and every one of them, but it was just one at a time.
That's beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Glad you experienced that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's getting a little dark in here.
You need the wand again.
You can say that a few more times.
Oh, Father Jeff, any wisdom?
You know, it's interesting. I got a kind, you know, inwardly, I was picturing the scene that movie, one of the last movies taken of Baba, Beyond Words, where Baba is behind Merazad, and actually Erich is interpreting Baba's gestures. I mean, it has the sound, the audio. And I kind of found like I was right close there watching Baba gesture. And then but this was the interesting thing. I mean, and I could be there, but at one point I actually felt I couldn't sustain my interest any longer. And I kind of fell back into myself. You know, and I realized that the reason I don't see him all the time is that I take interest in my own life. You know, I mean, he's like, we're face to face with him. He's there. Why don't we see him all the time? To me, I could see that, you know, now it's time for me to come back into myself. I mean, I found it was valuable to see that I've got that in me, you know, that I have to kind of work at that. so that I can just stay steadily with him,
Mm.
you know, and not, and so normally I can when I do these meditations, but this one I kind of felt like, yeah, felt like kind of dropping back. I mean, if I was like actually there, it was like I was actually there, but my attention started to wane after a time.
Mm.
Then I went to other places with Baba, you know, that where Baba, you see Baba when he looks up after at, he smiles and he's looking after he has done the bowed at the feet of these lepers, and he looks at that smile that he gives. I can go to that, and that holds my interest because that's love being given to somebody. You know what I mean? That there is an act of obvious, clearly loving, and the other one he is answering questions. You know, didn't sustain me, but anyway, I just found it kind of illuminating to see. You know, like I had mentioned, that Merwan Jesawala, he was over into Baba and never came back to himself. And there I saw, well, Jeff, you're not there. You know, but I mean, that's good to know. I mean, I'm happy to know that, you know, I can't sustain that focus on Baba all the time. You know, I drop back into myself or drop back into what I'm interested in. You know, so I'm interested in, you know, this part of Baba and that, but I could imagine some scenes where I could kind of fade out. Maybe Baba giving a darshan or something like that. And after the time, you know, the attention kind of drops back into myself, so to speak. Anyway, that was, I don't know quite how to describe it, but that was something I saw within.
Excuse me, is that the double rainbow that's up at Ken and Donna's video?
Yeah, that's, I think he
Still
managed.
there.
I think that he's probably taken a picture of it and is putting it on his screen.
It's finally faded. It's dark now, but it was for 10, 15
Yeah.
minutes.
Yeah. Those limbs are not waving in the breeze.
Very pretty.
It's an amazing sign there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff, some you know, deep insights for you, and also Darwin's words today that we can't always stay in that place. Right.
Yeah. And yeah. No, it was valuable. I found valuable for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I keep thinking of a term, right-sized. And that means my relation, where I am in relation to Baba. Right-sized. So that kind of helps me kind of evaluate.
Ruth, are you saying right-sized with a Z?
S-I-Z-E-D.
Right. Yeah. But is that like a term, or that's just
It's a term that people use. I've certainly heard it in 12-step programs where people have done it in searching and fearless moral inventory of themselves, and it helps them get right-sized.
get a sense of their right size?
Yes, they're not too small and they're not too big.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Then it becomes really the where you are in relation to God.
Yeah.
That's
Beautiful.
the right sized.
Yeah.
And when you were
Excellent.
talking, Jeff, that's kind of what I got was, you know, it's a wonderful thing to feel all the expansion but I can't live in that expansion. I find myself coming, kind of back down to where I really am. I only have a 25 watt. I don't have 100. So it's that right size, coming
Yeah.
back to reality of,
Yeah.
I want a bigger wattage.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think Darwin was saying, if we move from, first gear to second gear,
Yeah.
we move along, but it's a slow process for me.
Yeah.
But Ruthie, I think you have more wattage than you think you do, because I was thinking about this earlier, about losing yourself and being one with the truth. That, anyone who sings or does a piece of artwork or does a piece of writing or anything that 100% absorbs them, to me, that is what Baba is talking about, because you are so at one with that moment, that present, that truth, that
is true. That is absolutely true. However, the most important piece of that for me is bringing Baba into that moment and not be so absorbed in what I'm doing, the technicality or whatever, but actually having Baba with me in the moment. That's where, I want to increase my wattage.
So all I'm saying is that whether you realize it or not, you probably have. Because, for example, when you're hosting or when you're singing, you are so much in service that you have already done that. And whether you realize it or not, Baba's there. It comes through. It comes through when Jeff sings or Bill sings or Alan Ray, or when Marcia does her gorgeous artwork, or whatever, where someone puts up a beautiful photograph. I think it's there.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Yeah.
Whether you not, it's there.
Yeah.
Well, one time I went over to see Phyllis Ott, and I took a little poem book in the morning at the center, and we had coffee, and I said, "Oh, listen to this," and I read it out, and she like, "Oh, read it again," And I was like, "Oh, come on, Phyllis. I mean, this is just a little effort on some, here I am, but here you are, this magnificent painter, and you really do write poetry." And she said, "No, Ruth, when the big self speaks, always honor it."
Yeah.
So I
Beautiful.
think that's what Elizabeth is saying, and I'm
Yeah.
100% with that, Liz.
Yeah. Good. Excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah, because part of true humility is acknowledging what's really there too.
Right-sized. I'm trying to get right-sized. That's right.
Yeah.
It's a great expression.
Yeah.
So,
Jai Baba, everybody, I have to go.
Okay. Say hello to Martin.
I will. Love you
Yeah.
all. Hopefully see you next week, Baba
Yeah.
willing.
Bring more pedals next time.
I'll do my best.
Hey, Baba, Wendy. It's so good to see
Bob,
you.
everyone. Jai Papa.
There's a beautiful line in a poem, The Endless Petals of the Soul.
Ah.
The Endless Petals of the Soul. It's a song.
Oh, I'd love to hear that.
One of Dan Ladinsky's.
Ah.
I think, there's a couple that beautiful singers. The Levins, who sing The Endless Petals of the Soul. Yeah.
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Office,
Good dreams. Jai Baba, everyone.
Yeah.
Jai Baba. Jai Baba, everyone.
So that song Tonight by Brian Darnell keeps going through my head over and over and over. And I can't remember the words, only the melody. And maybe I heard it. Maybe it was in the RT, the Toddy Shop RT that was done yesterday. I haven't finished listening to it all, but I was looking at the chorus. And it says, "Tonight, tonight, while the moon is in flight, with the saints gathered above us at incredible heights, while the stars about shout your praises with all of their might. Let me love you like there's no tomorrow, tonight. And I know that Ruthie does that song, and I think Jeff does it too. I don't know who else does, but anyway, it's one of my favorites.
Yeah. He's written some very beautiful songs.
Yeah, from the hands of a carpenter.
Wow. Anyway, thank you, everyone. Che
Yeah.
Baba, good night.
Yeah. See you, Elizabeth.
Okay,
Yeah.
I might show up later tonight.
Yeah.
Extra late. Yeah.
Much
Bye.
love. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good.
bye. Okay, bye.
Dear Baba.
Jai Baba, Alan.
Night,
Yeah.
all.
Yeah,
Thank
had
you,
Jeff-
Jeff
Yeah.
and Stuart and everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Good to see you, Ken. Always.
Glad to have you here.
Yeah.
I'll be visiting in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Beautiful rainbow. Have a wonderful time. Congratulations.
Life is a rainbow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was good, Jeff.
I don't know. The pollen is rather thick.
Oh, it's awful. Hi,
Yeah.
Thea.
Yeah, Thea. Thea's been hiding in the shadows.
Yeah, doing something.
Oh, there he is. Oh my God, I haven't seen him in a while.
Hi, Thea.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah,
Good,
doing good. I miss our Friday nights.
Yeah, I thought I'd pop in for a little bit and caught the last half. I
Yeah.
guess. But how are you?
Yeah, we're doing good. I mean, still above ground and wandering around up and down.
Walking on the pollen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor when I lived in Berkeley who was about 80 and worked. I think he might have been a janitor. I'm not sure, but he's 80, 82, something like that. And he rode a banana seat bicycle most places, even though he had a car, and used to hustle pull down at the senior center. And I'd see him. I was working on a undergraduate thesis for my bachelor's, and this is like 2003 or something like that. It was a while ago now. And I'd see him, and I'd be sitting on the porch typing, like on the steps in the front of the porch, and I'd say, "Hey, Gary, how you doing?" He goes, "Hey, Matt, I woke up. You get to be my age every day you do. That's a good day." That's true, Gary.
Yeah. No,
I've remembered that to this point.
I wish I would wake up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We
who
are
knows?
we are being awakened gradually.
Yay.
He introduced me to hard bop jazz, so I will remain forever indebted to him.
Hard bop jazz. So
Yeah.
tell me what that is.
Like Horace Silver, Charlie Parker.
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
A little more
Yeah.
up, a little less noodly.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yeah, Charlie
Well,
Parker.
Stu, thank you. I'm starving.
Okay.
And good to see all of you and Marcia and Peter. You know, he kind of roughed his hair up there, you know, just he's ready to go.
Yeah, I got lost. You know, I was by the beach, and yeah, I got lost a little bit and had the windows rolled down and try to give you guys a little bit of view of beach, but maybe you all missed it or not. I don't know.
Yeah, missed it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. I was driving over a bridge and I put the phone up there, so hopefully you guys can see the view from the Sunshine Skyway Bridge.
Uh-huh.
But I never heard anything, so I take it that well, I don't know.
Yeah, may not have come up. Yeah.
Peter, where are you living?
Right now in the Tampa Bay area.
But where? I used to live right by the Sunshine Skyway, like literally. See, I lived down in the Pink Streets in St. Pete for a while.
In the where?
In the pink streets in St. Pete.
Okay, yeah, I live right now I live in Waimama, which is in oh, you're familiar with it?
Yeah, I lived in Tampa Bay for 10 years.
Okay. Yeah, there's somebody in a spiritual community. They live it's actually, I'm not sure how to describe it. It's if you take, I'd say 611 South and I think at 26th Avenue North, and you head west, because I'm really not familiar with that area very well. That area westbound about maybe 5 or 10 minutes, right around there. And I said, well, let me just go to the beach for a little bit. Because I had a birthday last week and didn't do anything. So I figured, screw it, let me just go down and hang out there for a little bit. And so I got lost on the way back. Yeah, but it's a beautiful area. It really is.
Yeah, I think I took some water samples up in like Little Manatee River area when I was doing a lot of water research there, up in there.
Water research?
I did marine science for most of the time I was in Florida.
Oh, wow. That sounds intriguing. I'm afraid to ask what you found.
I mean, Tampa Bay's like healed a lot relative to where it used to be. Most of the stuff ended up in the sediment that was polluting things, and doing large scale restoration efforts, like letting things go back to mangroves and that sort of thing, really worked.
Wow.
And continues to work. So
you're saying it's better than it used to be? Is that what you said?
Oh yeah, way better than the 70s, 80s, like way better, and even 90s. So a lot of the restoration efforts they started in the 90s are effective and continue to be.
Oh, sweet. That's good to hear. That's very nice to hear. Yeah, people look like they were really enjoying themselves. How did you like doing the marine work? Or did you like doing marine work?
I love the field work. I wanted to get employment in that, and then certain political decisions were made in the state that gutted funding. So I ended up leaving and moving into tech because there weren't jobs anymore.
Wait, did I misunderstand you that they did get funding because of political
they cut funding?
Yeah, I've kind of been on the end of that. I'm sorry to hear that. That's just, and then you had to move?
Yeah, I went into tech and have been since, but I've been missing that area quite a bit lately. It's the longest I've ever lived in one place, actually.
This is going to be a little bit of a tacky question, but are you a water element?
Nope.
No, okay. I just taking a stab in the dark there. But
I mean, I've got all of it in my chart if that's what you're going for, but the main one's not.
Okay, all righty. Yeah, but thank you for whatever work you did. I just think it's, I mean, I don't know really what you did over there, but it just sounds so valuable to look into the water and to do the restoration. I just, when I got a glimpse recently, I listened to somebody's podcast and I trust what this man says. It's so sad what is happening with the chemical industry and what they're dropping. It's so sad. And it's nice to see people are actively involved with the restoration process. I actually thought if I had extra time, what I'd do with it. And I had thoughts of, wait, what is the name of that organization? It's not Charity Water, but there's another organization that I think was actively involved in cleaning up the places. And I had thoughts of being involved with it, but I don't think that they work in Tampa, or very, very little.
Water keepers, maybe?
It's not ringing a bell.
Water keepers are one group that does a lot of that. I mean, Terracea is not that, nature preserve is not that far from you, and probably be happy to take volunteers and teach stuff. I don't know what, I'm speaking out of turn for them because I haven't talked to any of them in years, but it would not surprise me if they would be happy to have volunteers.
Hold on, I just want to take the name just to be on the safe side. It's not like I have I have the opposite of tons of spare time. Oh, you can bear with me. I just want to write the name. Can you tell me what the name is again?
Terra, Terra space CEIA.
Wait, can you do that again a little slower?
Terra space and then CEIA. Preserve.
Oh.
Terracea. It's right by your side of the Sunshine Skyway Bridge.
Right. When I was going over the bridges, it was beautiful over there. It was really nice. It's like sometimes I think I would love to be over there, but I wish and hope, but wishing and hoping won't get me there. A burning desire will get me there, but wishing and hoping won't get me very much of anywhere. Anyway, though, yeah, it's good hearing you doing that work.
Well,
I think we've done I don't know who else is here listening on.
Yeah, I think it's just.
I think it's it.
Yeah.
All right. I will talk to you all later then.
Sign off.
Be well.
J-Boss.